Okay, I'll start recording now.
You mean you weren't recording that, dude? Come
No,
on.
I know. I'm sorry.
You should always be recording. You never know when you're going to catch the material.
I know. But see, that material that we were talking about before I pushed record was about acronyms. And you know how I hate acronyms.
Oh, yeah. AMA, man.
Why do people you know what drives me crazy is I've had someone say to my face, standing in front of me, I will say something and they say LOL.
Oh my God. Darryl, that is exactly what I was thinking. You wouldn't believe it. We're at the gym. Megan and I were working out a couple weeks ago, and this guy jumps into our machine, and we're using that like very nonchalant. It's like we're ticked off or anything. And he's like, LOL, I had no idea. I'm like, just actually laugh out loud, man. Like, you don't have to freaking do an acronym. You're not texting me.
For me, it drives me crazy. Or like BRB. People be like, BRB. And I'm like, what?
What is that?
They're like, be right back.
Oh.
And it drives me crazy. I'm like, why don't you just say that? BRB is the same. Be right back. Be right back. It's the same. Be right back. It's easy. I don't understand. Why do you have to say BRB? Just use your big boy or big girl pants and say the full sentence.
I'm too old for this shit. Another one, we're at the grocery store and like the girl makes a mistake scanning something and she says OMG. I'm like, just say, oh my God. Oh God, maybe we're just aging, but like this is not a means of communication, man. That's just people getting lazy texting. Oh, my kids are the worst. Like they don't say it out loud, thank God, because I'd freaking be calling them out on it.
Well, mine don't either because they know they'd have to find a new home.
Oh yeah, find a new dad.
Exactly.
I'm not your father anymore. Oh, OMG.
Well, that's my negativity for the day. Shall we get to the show?
Well, you know what? Let's just agree that we both hate acronyms.
WTTHH.
Well, that's a new one. What's that?
Welcome to Taming the Hustle.
Oh, OSOTS.
Welcome to another episode of Taming the Hustle.
Hi.
Or something of the sorts.
That's me wanting to be smart.
Less. Eventually, they're going to send us a cease and desist letter saying, stop talking about our podcast.
Oh, it's free advertising.
It is free advertising, but maybe
and they're awesome.
Maybe they like us. Maybe they don't like us. Who knows?
I wish everyone liked me. I don't think that's possible. I'd love to be loved by everyone.
What's that song? I Want You to Want Me.
Yeah. Don't start singing, please. What are we talking about today?
We're talking about getting paid.
Nice.
When I first started my company, and even now to an extent, sometimes I get in this habit where I'm technically underpaid for what I do.
Not technically. You're underpaid.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I preach all the time about the human factor with your customers or clients, and I do the same thing, but I get overly emotional and attached to my clients where I feel like I have to create this family friends discount all the time.
You're not enough of a hard ass, Darryl. You're a softie.
Again, I say it a lot in the sense of you don't need to break the bank to do marketing, and if I'm preaching that, I feel like I need to price that. But at the same time, I have to pay me, I have to pay my crew.
You have to realize what you're worth, my friend.
Exactly. So I want to talk about that right now because underpricing is a fucking dangerous slope. One, I think it just sends a bad signal that you're not at the level of others. Sometimes that is true, and other times it's simply not true at all. We charge less than other companies do, but at the same time, I think we're better than what they do.
You get what you pay for. I preach that all the time. I tell you that all the time. So you have to realize what you're worth and feel confident that you're pricing accordingly.
Yeah, and there was not a study per se, more of an experiment done.
More of a stutter
on YouTube where someone actually went and bought two of the same product and then just changed the labels and put it out on two tables like at one of those fairs. Everyone bought the more expensive one for the most part. Because of the brand, but they were the same one. So they overpaid by like this crazy amount of money. And so that's why I say it's a dangerous slope in that sense. But I know you were the one kind of driving force for me where you kept saying, no, you're charging too little.
The friend discount.
That's when I started to like test market demands.
Or do I regret saying
I
that.
know, because I just didn't stop.
Fuck me. The one time you listen to me
I know.
is when I asked you to charge me more.
And then it's like I haven't closed the door yet on that.
Yeah, I thought I was going to say something about you being compassionate, but I take that back.
You know what? But you need to find out what the going rate is really to understand your own value. So yes, you can come up with your value, but if you are just out of whack, then you are not going to get business no matter how good you are. And that's really why you need to find out what the going rate is and test those market demands. And then another thing is when you're trying to price clients, you need to be working with the right clients. If you are working with clients who
Sticklers.
exactly, no matter how good your product is, you're never going to be able to charge them what you think you're worth. And that's just not fair. And I've learned that over the years where we will have potential clients come to us and talk to us. And I can tell right off the hop there that even if we charge them as little as we possibly can, that's still way too much than they want to spend.
And those are typically the ones that even if you do the best job possible, it's still not good enough.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's something that we've come to realize that you have to be selective of the people you work with because there's certain people, and it doesn't make them bad people, but there are some people you just can't make happy because there's a poor connection or because the expectations are unrealistic. So you have to learn to recognize those customers and to be okay with not taking them on.
Exactly.
Sometimes that's tough.
And we've helped our own clients with their pricing structure because we kind of taught them through like our fees. So when we discussed fees and I explained how the fees work and, why it's this and why it's that, because I like to be transparent with my clients, it was one of those things where they kind of turned around and they were like, oh, I don't think I'm charging enough.
Right.
And they started to like change their fees and reflect what they're worth. And now they're transparent with their own clients. That turns into marketing strategy for them is that, hey, you prove that you're transparent with your clients. So let's market the shit out of that. Right.
And as a planner, you have to be aware of what your books look like. Right. So you have to make sure that you can understand profitability and make sure that you're not short selling yourself because you can't be working 80 hours a week for less than minimum wage and not really growing the business, right? So
there was this one time I helped a friend and he really taught me something and it's stuck with me all these years is that he said the one thing you can do for your business is stop negotiating. If you have priced yourself at this price, that's what you're worth. Don't negotiate it.
It's not a yard sale.
Yeah. It's exactly. But that's one thing I learned. Stop negotiating because it's not fair to your clients. It's not fair to you. It's really not fair to anybody. When I say it's not fair to your clients, it's really a disservice to them because if you're not getting paid what you're worth, you're not going to have the passion to make something great.
You won't be as vested in the product for sure or the project or whatever.
Speaking of talking to clients.
We talk to clients.
Can you hear it? I can hear it almost starting. It's an advertisement, which I guess means we'll be back in a few minutes.
TTYS.
Many people and businesses are working towards a better world. Discover a market that delivers measurable social and environmental benefits.
The world is in your hands, so demand more. We do. Hashtag call René, responsible investment specialist of St. Cyr & Associates.
We're back. So what are you talking about?
We might as well talk about fees as well, too.
Nice.
That's something that a big part of our industry is not really comfortable doing. We're at the forefront of fee-based planning, which I think is the right model to adopt. I think it's right for the client. I think it's the right thing to do as an advisor. So
I find it funny. There's so many advertisements out there in the financial world that they don't charge fees. No fee investing. But this company who is doing the investments are raking in millions. So where did they think that comes from? I always wonder, as the consumer, where does the consumer think that comes from?
Based on our conversation from the earlier segment, they must really not realize their value.
Exactly.
Because they're price cutting way too much.
It boggles my mind, the no fees thing.
I love it when a competitor, whether it's a bank or a brokerage firm, and they say, yeah, we don't charge fees. Or the client will come in and say, we were told not to do business with your firm because you charge high fees. And I just giggle because you can't say that a fee doesn't exist when the fee is just simply hidden.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. How is it that you are transparent in that?
Well, I'll explain how fees work. Let's look at something that's probably most common for the average Canadian is for them to have, their RSPs or their TFSAs or whatever in mutual fund companies, right? As opposed to developing your own stock portfolio, right? Because not everyone's really interested in doing that or has the ability to do so. So anyway, let's look at how fee structures are set up with mutual fund companies so that we can sort of inform the public of this today. The worst one, which they recently banned with the MFDA, but you can still set it up as a segregated fund account and get a DSC, which is deferred sales charge, a fee that the client doesn't have to pay up front.
Okay.
But they still have the hidden management fee, which is going to
Lovely.
be embedded in the return. And then there's sort of like a strings attached that because the advisor got paid comp on that. So the advisor would make, say, like a 2.5% comp
Okay.
and a bonus on top. So if you were at a reasonable bonus, you'd probably make about 4% on that sale, which I hate using because that's not part of our values at all. Is that, let's say on $1 million investment, that advisor would make 40 grand up front.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's insane. So the strings attached part is if the client needs the money within that 6-year period, for example, because the advisor got that upfront payment, that if they pull any of their money out in the first 5 or 6 years or whatever the contract says, they're going to have to pay a penalty. And the fee structure that I last seen was it started at 5% in year 1 and 2, and then it would go down 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you needed any money in year 1 or 2, you'd have to pay 5%. So the advisor makes 4% on the $1 million, makes 40 grand. But if you need that whole amount and you need to pull out because you have a real estate opportunity or whatever, you would then have to pay $50,000 in fees. Like, it's fucking insane.
That is insane. That's a stupid one. I don't like that.
And then the advisor in the embedded commission continues to make a 0.25% trailer on top of that annually.
Oh,
right. So then there's a $40,000 upfront, and then there's a $2,500 a year trailer that the advisor continues to get.
I feel like that's taken advantage of.
Well, they recently banned it because it isn't right. Like we've been advocating this being wrong and disallowed for a long time because it's just not the right thing to do. But some advisors have made a lot of money. I'm not bashing our industry, but some people are after their own wallets more than they're after the well-being of their clients.
Oh, for sure.
And that's how they operated their business their whole career.
And that's not just exclusive to financial planning. That's all across the board. There's people in every industry that's like that.
So I've heard some testimonials from some of my clients with, their experience with their ex-advisor, where the advisor would, either not disclose the DSCs at all and just assume that they know that, which is a problem. But there's also the ones that brought it to the surface and said, well, you're not going to need this RSP for at least 6 years anyway. So I'm going to set it up as a DSC because you're not going to pay the fees. You're not going to take it out. But what if the client has a change in lifestyle circumstances?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, where you have a different need or objective where you have to move those funds around to say something more aggressive or less aggressive or actually cash it in because you have, loss of employment or whatever. Like, shit happens. So it still isn't the right thing for the client just because you assume at that point in time that the client didn't need the money, right?
Yeah.
So then the second one is the FEL, which is front end load. So instead of paying a deferred sales charge if you need the money, you would elect to pay a fee up front that's negotiated with the advisor, which could be 0 to 5%. Before we started doing fee-based, the FEL was the best option because we can choose a 0 purchase fee so the client wouldn't have to pay getting in, wouldn't have to pay getting out.
Gotcha.
And then we would just get a trailer fee to manage that account. But again, the trailer fee is still embedded in that return.
Gotcha.
Right. So you don't really know who and
what you're paying.
So let's be clear. There's 3 parties involved that get compensated. So this is sort of segue into getting into the no load or the fee-based planning model that my team and I have adopted. So you have 3 parties involved. You have the fund managers. So the fund managers are the ground zero people that have the mandate of buying and selling in that particular market. So if you have like a global emerging markets, they have a certain mandate and they're going to buy and sell and they're going to try to make you the most money because they are working on a percentage basis. So the more money they make you, the better ratings they get, the more credibility they have, more money they make. The 2 other parties would be the advisor, which is us, and then the dealership. So the dealership could be like a Scotia McLeod, it could be like TD Wealth or RBC Dominion Securities or an Edward Jones. The dealership gets compensated because they're the ones responsible to making sure the fund managers follow all the MFDA rules. They've got to make sure that all of the tax reporting gets into CRA. They're responsible for providing you with accurate data when they're sending you your statement and giving you online access.
Yeah.
So then our responsibility is managing all of that, is selecting the right fund portfolios, right? And creating an investment strategy.
Yeah.
And that stems from designing a financial plan for the client and managing that holistic approach that we've always preached about and had in one of our segments. So the way they typically get compensated is the fund managers will charge like say a 0.7 or 0.8% management fee.
Yeah.
So then typically the standard in this industry is that the advisor gets 0.5% for managing the account, and then the dealership keeps the same amount. So they reflect what the advisor has chosen to charge the client. So now you have these three parties. So the fund manager's fee plus the dealership fee and the advisor fee is what the total cost is.
Okay.
Okay. So then if the fund manager charges 0.8% and then the advisor chooses the full 0.5, which is industry standards, and the dealership mirrors that, then the total MER, management expense ratio, would be 1.8% plus HST.
Okay. I get it.
There's three major reasons why we chose to adopt a fee-based planning model exclusively.
Okay.
The first one is transparency. So
Yeah.
to us, we have a clientele. I can't say we're 100% retention, but we're less than 1%. So to me, that's
Okay.
pretty damn
Yeah, that's
good.
pretty damn
And
good
we're
for
very,
sure.
very proud of that. To be able to develop those real relationships with our clients, that transparency is going to allow us to develop the relationship of trust with the people we've chosen to work with. So you're going to have your statement, say on a quarterly basis, you'll see the management fees coming off of there, and you'll know exactly what your advisor and the
Gotcha.
dealership is getting paid. Okay. The second thing is by doing fee-based, as the advisor, you have the ability to reduce that fee if you do a cost analysis on the client, whether it's, okay, I don't have to do tax returns for this client. This client is very self-sufficient and just needs a financial plan and
Yep.
needs us to actively manage his assets, or we're going to charge a little bit less. Or if you have a very, very intense client where you're doing their tax returns, you're looking after their parents' tax returns, and
Yep.
you know that it's going to be like a really hands-on client, that your team is going to be heavily involved. You just have to do a cost analysis, right? So
Getting
we-
paid what you're
we-
worth.
getting paid what you're worth. So we typically discount the client depending on the circumstances,
Yeah.
so that the client then gets the biggest bang for their buck, because I can rest assured that not many advisors discount their fees.
Yeah.
And kudos to the ones that do. I'm proud of you. There aren't too many advisors that go to great lengths to be able to service their clients. So we feel very confident that we're over servicing and that we're undercharging, so that we're building a relationship of trust
Yeah.
with transparency. We're optimizing their fee structure so that we can keep the client happy in terms of the least amount of fees that we can find sustainable for the success of our business. And also the effects of that is the client will net a better return. So that
Yeah,
could
for sure.
represent a lot of long-term money. And then the third piece is the tax deductibility. So when you have an embedded commission, so you have a hidden fee in
Yeah.
your return. So let's say the return is, you see on your statement, is 6%.
Okay.
In reality, it probably did 8%, and they kept 2% off the top to
Gotcha.
pay those three parties.
Yeah.
Right? When you have an embedded commission in a non-registered investment, it's not tax deductible. You can't deduct the management fees.
Oh.
But if you're setting up a fee structure and you actually have the fees broken down on your statement, CRA won't allow you to deduct it for registered products like RSPs and TFSAs, because there are already some tax advantages
Yeah.
to those vehicles. But for non-registered investments, you would then be able to deduct your management fees from tax purposes. So like, for example, if you paid $1 in management fees that were hidden in
Yep.
an embedded commission, you would not be able to deduct it. But that same dollar, if you do fee-based,
Yeah.
and the advisor has deducted the fee by 10%, so now you're only paying 0.9, which is 90 cents as opposed to the full dollar, and we include the HST in there, after you've had the tax deductibility, your fee is actually 0.57 instead of $1.13.
Interesting.
Right? Because if you're paying full bore
Yep.
as an embedded commission, you're going to have $1 of management fees. We're just looking at the advisor, and because that's what you can deduct. You cannot deduct the fees from the portfolio managers.
Okay.
The deductibility is the fee for service.
Gotcha.
Okay. So then the fee for service, which is the advisor and the dealership piece, becomes tax deductible. So if it's embedded, let's repeat that. If it's embedded, you're going to pay $1.13 in management fees
Yep.
for a non-registered account.
Okay.
And if it's fee-based and your advisor has deducted that by 10% to give you a 0.9% management fee, your net fee after taxes, assuming you're in a 44% tax bracket, you would pay 0.57% in management fees as opposed to the $1.13.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
That's insane. You know why I like fee-based planning more?
Why?
Because there's no fucking acronyms. You just say the whole thing. Fee-based planning.
LOL. Oh my God. So fitting. I hadn't thought of that.
It's true.
You and your acronyms.
Just tell me what it is.
DSC, deferred sales charge.
Hate it.
FEL, front end load.
Hate it.
NL, no load. Fee-based is fee-based.
See, fee-based.
No load is fee-based.
Yeah, you wouldn't say FB because people are like, oh, that's Facebook. Fucking
IG.
acronyms.
IG used to be an investment firm. Now it's Instagram.
Exactly.
Tell me how you really feel.
That's how I really feel.
I'm feeling two things. I'm feeling a little bit exhausted because it's a heavy topic.
Definitely.
But I'm feeling energetic that we were able to talk about it, because it's important that people are informed and that they ask the right questions when they're looking at working with someone.
I've recommended you to friends before, and they always say, they're like, what kind of fees is it? And I explain the fee-based planning. They're like, oh, well, the advisor I'm with doesn't charge anything.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And every time I'm like, how did they make money then?
The world doesn't work that way.
Listen, we talked a lot about values today, value of, what you're worth, and values of service. So when we get back, I want to talk about the values that are most important to you.
So MVVs.
MVVs.
Speaking acronyms.
What the hell's MVV now?
Most valuable values.
Oh, God. We'll be right back.
Change is important.
Yeah, like putting your pocket change into my investments.
Well, we put your change into your investments.
You do the work, but I have to fork out the dough?
You don't see it now, but it will pay off.
I better retire at 25.
Hashtag call René.
So welcome back. Listen, the first value we got to get to right off the hop is the value of never using a frickin' acronym ever again.
NP, no problem. I'm good with that. We're like a self-supporting ecosystem. We support each other. You're down, I pick you up. I'm down, you pick me up.
I think we're more like a bra. Sometimes you're the lower hanging boob, or sometimes you're the higher boob.
We support each other. There's a lifestyle topic.
Well, listen, seriously, though, we talk about this all the time, about how we communicate with our client base, how we communicate as friends, how we communicate with others, really. And I just kind of want to get your take about values that are most important to you.
Value Village.
Value Village, that's very
That's
important.
the most important.
Yeah, that's
I got some of my best piece of clothing there, I tell you. I have so many. We talk about integrity a lot with our business and yours as well, too.
For sure.
Integrity is so important to me. But you know what? As a human being,
You're human? I haven't noticed, but that's okay.
hello, well. I would have to say family values. Family is everything to me, and you included. I mean, family doesn't have to be blood. There's a certain sense of community when it comes to family values, whether it's
Yeah.
close relationships like you and I, whether it's, your spouse that you're not, related to by blood, but she's your family or he's your family.
Yeah.
But I don't know, someone who really cherishes the importance of family and staying in touch with your family, that is like really, really attractive.
For sure. You visited my house recently, and I was talking about this ceramic mug that I really like that I saw on Etsy.
Mhm.
And you bought it for me, which I absolutely love. And now every time I drink out of it, and it's funny because you made the joke of every time you drink a coffee in the morning, I want you to think of me. And I actually do. And that's part of this whole
Sweet.
values thing of,
Yeah,
it's a
man.
connection that you have. And when something like that happens, you're just like, you're reminded of that person. And it's just it's okay. I'm going to get a little soft and touchy here. It's special.
Yeah, you're my bro, man.
I'm huge on kindness. I love, for myself, my mom and my dad, they raised me to have values, to be trusting, honest, and to be kind. And so I try to have these values daily in my life. And actually, a couple of days ago, I was at the grocery store, and I'm walking through the aisles, and I'm going to get a bag of milk, and this woman is behind me. And so I go to grab the first bag. I notice it's actually expired. So I put it on the thing and I push it down, and I go to grab the next bag, and I look, and the date's not good. So I'm kind of looking through, but I'm hogging the fridge door, right? And so she's behind me, and I finally realize, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, take your time. I said, I'm just trying to find a bag that has a good date on it. And so I finally find it. I said, what percentage of milk are you looking for? I said, let me help you out. She's like, 1%. And I'm like, okay. So I find her a good date. I put it in her cart. She's like, that is so sweet of you. And I'm like, oh. So we keep walking. Then I see her at the checkout, and she's ahead of me. And so as she's finishing, she's bagging her stuff, and she pays. And so the cashier starts talking to me, and I'm talking back to her, and I'm just being polite. I'm asking her how her day is and such. And because that's in my nature, just is like you talk to people and you get to know them, right? And so then she leaves, the girl in front of me, she leaves, and I'm just talking to the cashier. I finish up my stuff, and I'm walking out. I stop at the little wine rack. I buy a bottle of wine. So it's taken me a long time to get to the parking lot. And I finally get out to my car, and I'm putting the bags in the back seat. And I go to close the door, and the woman who I gave the bag of milk to is right there, startled the hell out of me. I'm like, oh my God. I said, OMG, actually. No, just kidding, I didn't. So she's like, I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you. I said, you startled me. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, I just wanted to say how really, really sweet you were. She's like, not many people are like that. I said, oh, it's just being kind. I said, everyone should be like that. And she's like, no, I agree. And she's like, I don't want to sound too forward, but would you like to have a coffee sometime?
Nice.
Yeah, except I'm married.
But you still have it, man. That's a nice feeling.
I guess, but I felt so bad. I'm trying to be kind. I'm like, well, I do. I would love to have a coffee with you. However, I would probably have to bring my wife. And her face was mortified. And I felt so damn bad. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she ran away. And I'm like, no, don't. It's okay. And I felt so bad.
Nice
so I get home, I
though.
Tell Erin this. Tell her, I said, yeah, this woman asked me out. I tell her the story. She's like, oh my God, that's so funny.
OMG, that's so funny.
OMG, LOL. And so, but the thing is, I felt so horrible, and I blame my parents for raising me what I think is right. But at the same time, for the next 2 days, that's all I thought about was this poor woman who's sitting at home.
Oh,
She's never going to Sobeys again. Right? She's never going to be there. Now she has to change grocery stores. I feel horrible.
I'm pretty sure she'll survive, Darryl.
I hope so. She probably threw out the milk I gave her too.
Well, the one thing I've learned about you is that, you've got the value of loyalty to your wife because you didn't go on the date.
Yeah, loyalty, stupidity, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, you're just filled with values, filled with bullshit too, I think.
There's just a little BS in there.
Oh my God, maybe we get more entertainment out of acronyms that we lead on to.
I guess.
Oh my God,
that's what happens when you start using acronyms.
I started believing you felt bad for a girl hitting on you bull crap that I'm like, I don't even know what to think anymore. Who is this guy? Well, anyway, it is a pleasure hanging out with you, and some laughter is always needed, man. Life is way too serious.
The next time we do an episode, we never speak of acronyms again, even though we found them quite funny today.
Yeah.
TTYL. Thanks for joining us. This was Taming the Hustle.
Or something of the sorts.
See you next time.
Ciao.